Hey there, and welcome to my lazy review of this new film, Killers of the Flower Moon. And not gonna lie to you guys, there was a lot of talk about this film, only because it's Martin Scorsese's first film since The Irishman. Also, he's bringing back De Niro, DiCaprio, and oh my god, a 3.5 hour film, also $200 million. There's a lot about this movie.
I've got to see if it's worth the hype.
But before I review this movie, I have to grab my soda, and let's see, a 3.5 hour movie. I refilled this thing 3 times because free refills is awesome. And okay, when it comes to Martin Scorsese, you don't dare bring out the cheap shit. I still have some leftover Jack Daniel's Tennessee Honey. Now, before I drink this, what I do is every single video, I ask and answer three very simple, lazy questions. Number one is, how do I feel about this film? That's why we're here for. Number two is, oh yeah. Number two would be, would I recommend that you see this film? And number three, but most importantly to me, is being blue collar. Do I think that this movie is worth your hard earned money? Before we get into that, real quick, no drum roll, because this shit's delicious. This is Starry and Jack Daniels. Let's go. It's a habit, it's a routine, whatever. Come on.
So thirsty.
Oh, yeah.
It tastes so good.
Before I do my intro, which I hope you enjoy, this is based on a book that was written in 2017, and it is called Killers of the Flower Moon, The Osage Murders, and the Birth of the FBI. So let's talk about it. I'm going to try my best to not make a 2 hour video on a 3.5 hour movie. Was it worth it? Let's check it out. Enjoy the intro. Let's go. Love this stuff, and damn, I'm slobbing here. So, everybody knows watching this that any film has a 3 act structure. Because this film is 3.5 hours long, I'm just going to basically break it down into hour one, hour two, and hour 3.5. And anyway, so the first hour starts off with the setup, and come on, guys, at this point, you know it, and I know it. It's a very shitty part of American history, but the Osage people were forced off their lands and forced to live on reservations. But this reservation was down in Oklahoma, and of course, as these things happen, back in the 1900s, there was a shitload of oil, and people weren't happy that all the Osage Indians are like, hey, we're rich, bitch.
I'm rich, bitch!
Early into the film, we are introduced to Leo DiCaprio's character, Ernest Burkhart, and his uncle, William Hale, played by Robert De Niro, and this guy is easily the villain of this film, and his nickname is The King, so what an asshole.
He's a total fucking asshole.
And he's the worst kind of piece of shit because he's so two-faced. Now, to the Osage people, he's their friend, he cares about them, he smiles in their face, he's trying to give them a better life.
Osage are the finest, wealthiest, and most beautiful people on God's earth.
But to other characters like his nephew, he thinks these people are less than human, they're savages, and what he wants is all their power and resources. Now, this happens in the film, and even today in 2023, is that all the Osage people, all of their resources and land, it can't be sold or given away. But there's a loophole. What it can be is inherited.
Well, we mix these families together, and that estate money flows the right direction. It'll come to us.
William Hale talks to his nephew. He essentially coerces him into marrying an Indian woman. Now, this is happening in the film more and more where white people are marrying Indian women. And off the bat, I gotta say that, to Martin Scorsese's credit, it's not something as simple as white man bad and Indian good, because let's be honest, boys and girls, check out Game of Thrones, check out any history book. This whole marrying into power, marrying into different cultures, it's not nothing new, but it is pretty fucked up.
How fucked up are you?
Time does pass by, and you know what? A theme is a theme. I don't care if it's Dances with Wolves, and to a lesser extent, Avatar, but Ernest does love his wife, and he has kids with her, and even he starts to learn their culture, learn their history, and even learn their language. And that's pretty much Act 1, because now Act 2, the shit hits the fan.
Good people are going to die.
However you want to categorize it, the second act or second hour, I feel like doesn't have a lot in terms of storyline because it's simply Indians dying. Now, it could be getting shot, getting stabbed, being blown up, or even the worst is being poisoned. And now, it sucks because Ernest's wife, Molly, and she does a fantastic job of showing emotion and heartache and turmoil. She's watching her people being brutally murdered and her family being picked off one at a time for their land and resources, and there's nothing anybody can do about it because William Hale has power, he has resources, the guy has money. And of course, investigations, nobody's doing anything. Local sheriffs are being paid off. You have the freaking local doctors not doing a goddamn thing. And this woman is desperate as hell. So we get into the third act, and I'd say last hour and 10 minutes of the film, where the vibe kind of shifts over to, say, Oppenheimer, where now she goes to Washington, D.C. She asks the president, please help us because our people are dying one at a time. They're being picked off and nobody is doing a fucking thing about it. So insert the Bureau of Investigation, because at this point it wasn't called the FBI, just a bureau. And then when the bureau shows up, guess what? Shit hits the fan.
Officers, arrest those men.
When the FBI get there, they start to investigate, and that's pretty much it. I'm not going to ruin the rest. So when it comes down to my 3 lazy questions, number 1 off the bat is how to feel about this film. I won't lie to anybody. I think that no matter who you are, people, when they review something, do have this subconscious bias no matter how hard you try. So I have friends that join the military and they can't watch a film like American Sniper, but also would probably tell you that Saving Private Ryan is the greatest movie of all time. I can only imagine how hard it is for a person that is Jewish to watch Schindler's List, and either that film's the greatest movie of all time or the worst film they've ever seen. So when it comes to a film like this, I don't talk about it too often on my channel because I don't want to make that my whole personality, but I was born on a New York State reservation. I'll show a picture. It's called Akwesasne. So a film like this, part of me hated every second of it. Also, though, as a fan and being unbiased, part of me thought this movie was fantastic and amazing, and I did love it. Also, you know, a film like Sound of Freedom, I had this bias being a dad. So I did love this film on all accounts from start to finish, and I like the way that Martin Scorsese is a veteran filmmaker. Leonardo DiCaprio does an excellent job, and De Niro, man, De Niro, his character, again, is such a piece of shit.
That lying piece of shit!
Now on to number 2. Would I recommend that you see this film? Yes, I would recommend it, and I would highly recommend it because this is a part of American history, whether we want to admit it or not. In the same vein of Schindler's List is history, or American Sniper is history, or even Saving Private Ryan is history. Things did happen, things are uncomfortable, and this movie won't be for everybody. I can understand why some people wouldn't want to see it for, but the whole premise of the book and this movie being filmed was this stuff did happen, and so many people just don't want to talk about it, and so many people just want to forget it happened. And maybe this stuff should be talked about more. Maybe this stuff should be mentioned more in movies. And you know what? This stuff didn't happen 200, 300 years ago. This shit was pretty freaking recent. So I would recommend it, but again, go in with a strong stomach. Not in the sense of a Saw film, but it's like, considering what the material was covering, I had to go into Sound of Freedom with a pretty strong stomach. This film does have some scenes, you know, where people are getting shot or stabbed, but just the way they're being killed was pretty damn brutal. So I would recommend it, but if some people want to pass on what the source material is based on, I totally understand it. It's not easy to watch, alright? So on to number 3.
One last question.
My final question is always, is this movie worth your hard-earned money? For me, 100% hell yes, because with a budget of $200 million, it shows. Everything feels authentic. Scorsese does a very good job of showing these wide shots, and the film does look beautiful. But again, if some people are not out in a big rush to see, well, Native Americans being slaughtered, Apple TV initially had this on streaming only. Who knows how they did it, but they put it out in theaters, and eventually it will be coming to Apple TV. I've told people online, guys, listen, Apple has a free 1-month trial. Get a free month and check this film out. It is worth your money, but you know what? It's coming on streaming services, so you're not paying nothing, and then you can't complain, all right? And that's pretty much it, guys. As I always do, I have to rate this film. By all accounts, as I've said, this film is uncomfortable to watch, and if you can tell, I've been struggling to elaborate and break down a 3.5-hour movie, and the source material is very uncomfortable. But I gotta be honest and rate this film. My rating system would be, and it's not easy to say this, but Killers of the Flower Moon, starring Leo, De Niro, directed by Martin Scorsese, by all accounts, is a cinematic masterpiece. From start to finish, I never felt the whole 3.5-hour runtime. Yes, it is long, but I was never bored. The dialogue is good, it's authentic, and real quick before we end this, hats off to Scorsese and DiCaprio. They're both producers on this film. They went down, they talked to the Osage people. Leo did learn as much of the language as he could, so
He's a legend.
as I always do, I have to check my watch. I'm always freaking low on time, and I'm going to edit this stuff, and just want to tell you, I probably wouldn't watch it again anytime soon because of how disturbing it made me feel leaving the theater, driving home, and talking to you all about this. All right, so that's it. I'll see you later. Cheers.
This calls for a drink.
After that movie, I needed some damn Jack Daniels. One last thing.
It's called a catchphrase.
And now I have to head back to work.